Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie says President Biden can no longer claim he's a moderate.
It's the death of 2020 Joe Biden. When he went to the Hill, 2020 Joe Biden is now officially dead and buried. The guy who ran against the progressives, ran to be a uniter in this country, ran saying he was going to force compromise. And he went up to Capitol Hill and he capitulated to the progressives, the liberals in his party. And why should we be surprised? He couldn't stand up to the Taliban. How could we expect him to stand up to AOC?
Whew. Tammy Bruce, Fox News contributor, host of Get Tammy Bruce on Fox Nation. Well, he might, in fact, President Biden, force a compromise. It might have to be in his own party. He won't be doing it bipartisan the way that he said he would.
That's right. And, you know, that whole election was a demand for bipartisanship. The whole election was for moderation when you look at what happened to the House and the Senate and the White House. So that becomes, of course, a joke in and of itself. But that entire dynamic of spending, when we think about this disconnection with the impact on us, becomes even more serious when we think about inflation, the port problem, the supply chain problem, not just cars and shoes and exercise equipment, but also food in the stores because there's fewer truckers. We have this entire dynamic where supply and demand. The demand is high, the supply will be low. This is going to ruin many people's lives. If you're on the edge living paycheck to paycheck and you can't get, let's say, decent meat for your children, this suddenly becomes a momentarily dynamic issue when it comes to the health of your own family.
So it's interesting, Tammy, because you always have those great examples of how life's texture and the fabric of how we live, the things about our own lives that we choose to focus on, if you will, like good nutrition for our children, so on and so forth, that then suddenly becomes lifted and put in the hands of people because of the tax system.
That's right, and it reminds you about what the agenda of
people,
the left
by the way,
is.
Who might not care how our kids eat, but go ahead.
Well, yes, exactly, who don't have to worry about that because of the kind of money they have. But on a day-to-day basis, even things we take for granted. We take for granted being able to go into the grocery store and not have it be like Soviet Russia where there's empty shelves, where we are able to get fresh vegetables. That doesn't come from leprechauns. It comes from truckers. It comes from people working hard anonymously in the middle of the night, driving things to the stores. All of that is at risk. We see this across the board. And there they are talking about money and dealing with tree equity and all of that when we have ports that have been stopped.
Yes.
And people who are still staying home, the Department of Transportation saying nothing about it. And that seems like, oh, that's a big, complicated political thing. But it affects our daily, momentary lives, especially people in the inner cities, people that rely on delivery of material to them to live their lives.
All of us still rely on that. Remember, at the height of the pandemic, and this was something that President Biden was running on, too, how different things would be after he became
Oh, boy, he
president.
was right. He was right.
He understood, well, I mean, different in a good way, but that he understood what we were going through the coronavirus pandemic. And I remember going to stores, and it wasn't just toilet paper. It was those basic things, not being able to get generic prescriptions for some time.
Great point.
Of course, that's our coupling with China that made that complicated too, which is another area I don't know that he's necessarily zoning in on at this point.
And the problem is no one is. And this is why normally you would have, let's say, the Secretary of the Department of Transportation be able to focus on that, because the president, we saw with Jimmy Carter, you can't micromanage things. You're supposed to have experienced people who manage the system properly, but they're all stuck in the singular agenda of the bill, the $4 trillion bill. Nobody else is focusing, and they're also in crisis mode, putting fire out after fire.
Well, but these are self-inflicted crises. I mean, they are in crisis mood. I mean, a hurricane, you can't do anything other than predict the strength of once it hits shore and all of that and pick up after it's done. But the things that you bring onto shore that are your own making, the immigration crisis.
And also, this may sound boring, but Americans are learning about this. The infrastructure. We talk about infrastructure bills. Well, we really care about infrastructure, but that's not what they're actually selling right now. This is why we care about it, so they use that phrasing. And in the meantime, tree equity is not infrastructure. The ports are. And they're completely ignoring that. They're not dealing with the trucker problem because it ruins this eviction moratorium, enhanced benefits, the crisis of COVID, and fear.
Tammy, one of the things that we've seen the White House tell us that they're doing was admitting that they meet regularly with some of the big tech giants. And certainly social media is in the realm here and in focus. We finally know that the former Facebook employee who handed over a trove of documents to the Wall Street Journal, because they broke the story, going public ahead of her testimony on Capitol Hill tomorrow. We know who she is. She claims the social media giant knowingly amplifies, currently, hate and misinformation.
The thing I saw at Facebook over and over again was there were conflicts of interest between what was good for the public and what was good for Facebook. And Facebook over and over again chose to optimize for its own interests, like making more money. It chooses profit over safety. It is subsidizing, it is paying for its profits with our safety.
So this is one of those areas, Tammy, that I think of you on when you say you need accomplished and talented people in roles so that you can focus on the things that are coming at us constantly.
Yeah, it's interesting because her allegation is that this was deliberate. It's not like they were a hands-off approach and so bad information affected society. That this was a deliberate decision to allow and to turn off certain feeds and to turn on other ones that would cause disruption, cause panic, to heighten clicks, to get more traffic in. That's very different because we have an argument about freedom of expression, but the moment you begin to micromanage this based on your particular micromanaged interest, then you're going to have some problems.
Well, and if you watch the interview, and I did, she talks specifically about the change when algorithms began to, we saw this with Twitter recently.
That's right.
It curated that racial slur against Senator Tim Scott. A program didn't do it. Human beings were curating. And so human beings are programming the algorithms then to do some of what this targeting of teenagers and conservatives looks like.
Well, this is what's horrible, is that there's a lot of money to be made in crisis.
Yeah, it's a business model.
It's a business model. And so when you've got that, there's a lot of money to be made in divisions, in anger, in demonstrations, in fear. People do tune in. There's a part of the brain. It covers gambling and violence and sex and fear. And you target those things and people come back. It becomes like an addiction. So this is why when we have someone making this argument, not an argument then to have there be more controls over speech, but why are people then monetizing and promoting and deliberately moving the negative speech to get more clicks?
Well, I think we do know. It's about power and money.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
Always good to have you in focus.
Thank you.
Thank you.